Good morning. This is a video for lesson 9.1. I titled it Solid Figures, but that's actually the title of the whole chapter. So we're just going to be taking a look at 4 types of solid figures for this chapter, and that's what the assessment will be on. Do you understand the 4 different kinds of solid figures? So in this lesson, we are doing prisms. So that's what you'll look for on your formula sheet for the surface area and the volume of different prisms. So right here is an example of a prism. We highlighted that during class. The main thing about prisms is that they have at least one pair of parallel surfaces that create a uniform cross-section. A cube is a rectangular prism which all edges are the same length. So a prism has 2 bases. Now, in our summary, they give us the lateral surface area formula, but if you want the total surface area, you have to add in the area of the bases. So that's what, depending on the base of the prism, you would add 2 of those, and then you get that from the chapter before in chapter 8 when we did 2-dimensional objects. So there's the lateral surface area, volume, and then total surface area. I don't know where to put it right here. Total surface area is the lateral surface area plus the area of the bases, and then there's 2 of those. So times 2 for the area of the bases. 2a might be a better way to write it. Let me do that. So we're going to add 2a. Okay, that's what we need for this lesson. So main thing is read the directions first. That's where I make mistakes the most, is I don't read what they exactly want, and so I find the wrong information. So for this first problem, it says total surface area. So that means I'm going to take the lateral surface area plus 2 of the bases because we're in prisms. And then the volume of the following right prism, round to the nearest tenth. So that's 1 decimal place. So I take my data from what the lateral surface area is. According to my summary sheet, it's the perimeter, P stands for perimeter, times the height. So the perimeter of this prism, we know these 2 sides. We do not know the third side, so I have to use the Pythagorean theorem. This third side is called C. 13 squared plus 13 squared is C squared. So I find my value of 13 squared plus 13 squared. It's 338. That's C squared. And so one more step, take the square root of both sides. So C is about, this third side here, is about 18 and 38477, yada yada yada. So now in order to find my perimeter, go ahead and use a sticky note so I can show my work. Remember, on your homeworks, you are not going to have this as your number 1, so you'll have to look for the picture that has this right prism. Triangular prism, this is really called, because it's got triangular bases. Now the perimeter is the 13 plus the 13 plus that value up there. So the perimeter is about, and I'm not going to round anything till the very end, So I'm just going to put plus my whole decimal plus 13 plus 13. So it's 44.38477, yada, yada, yada. And then I take it times the height. So my height is 20. So P times H is times 20. Okay. This decimal times 20. So my lateral surface area is 887 and 6955, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now I have to find the area of the bases times 2. So there's 2 triangles, and one of them is the base times the height divided by 2. That's how you find the area of a triangle, but then you're taking it times 2, so it's really just 13 times 13, which is 169. So I'm going to add my lateral to this. So the lateral plus 2 times A is adding my decimal plus 169. I still have it in my calculator. So now I have 1056 and 6955, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And so it says round to the nearest tenth. So the looks like they didn't. They rounded to the nearest whole. So if I round this to the nearest whole number from my choices, it's 1057 for the total surface area. That's inches squared. So if they have more than one answer with this for total surface area, and they don't, they only have one answer, I don't, oops, can't see. I don't have to figure the volume, but I can show you how to do that, you know, if you want to see it. No big deal. I'm going to tape this so it doesn't fall off. Then I will set up a volume formula. I'm going to write on the front here C back for the volume. Yep. Okay, so my volume of a prism is a little bit simpler. We just take the area of the base times the height. So this is like if it was a, oh, can't see it. If it was a box, you know, we just take length times width times height, but it's not. It's a triangle. So we're going to take 13 times 13 divided by 2. That's the area of the triangle of the base times how tall it is, 20. So that would be, you know, I can put in the calculator, do a little math magic here. It's 1,690 inches cubed because volume is a 3-dimensional. And let's see what they have. Sure enough, 1,690. So if I would have found that first, I would have been able to pick my choice, but you have to, you want to practice. So it's good practice to find them both. Alrighty. Okay, next one. Volume of the following right prism. Now they have this prism sitting on its side. This prism was sitting on its base, so that wasn't so hard to see. But it looks like this prism is a trapezoid. So we want to find the volume. So we just do the area of the trapezoid, which is base 1 plus base 2 over 2, the average of the two bases times the height. And then we take it times, this is the area of the trapezoid, okay? The height of the trapezoid. And then we take that value to times how tall the prism is. And if it's sitting on its side, the height of a prism is defined as the distance between the two bases. So first, this is the area of this trapezoid. So I'm going to add, looks like it's 20 up here from this measure, 24 down here. So I'm going to take 20 plus 24 divided by 2. And the height of my trapezoid is 10. So do the math magic. See, 44, 22, 220. Okay, that's the area of the base. So this is inches squared. It says round to the nearest 100. I just noticed that. I didn't read that earlier. So there's that. And now the area or the volume of this prism is the area of the base, 220, times how tall the prism is, which is 48. So we'll do that math. And it is 10,560, but round to the nearest 100, the 6 changes the 5 to a 6. So it's about 10,600 inches cubed. So that's the C. That is rounded to the nearest 100. So they're making you practice rounding. And that's not a bad thing. Don't want it to go away. Okay, write a word or phrase. How many pounds of rocks will you need to fill an area 20 by 22 feet, the depth of 2.5 inches, if the rock weighs 1,025 pounds per cubic yard? So that is a, we're changing cubic yards to pounds, so you have to know the relationship between pounds and cubic yards. Okay, oh, and they gave it to us already. So if I can get 1 cubic yard, for this rock, every rock weighs different. You know, lava would weigh different than sandstone, would weigh different than marble or whatever. That's why they had to give it to us. 10,025 pounds. So the measurement is not there, not in yards. So there is a sweet, quick way to convert feet to yards without too much mathematics. You just take the original feet number and divide by how many yards there are in a, how many feet there are in a yard. So there's 3. And so we take my feet number divided by how many feet are in a yard, that's 3. And then take my inches number by how many inches are in a yard, 36. So that's really a blast from the past. You can't forget anything about math. So this will be my cubic yards, because yards times yards times yards. And then I take it times the poundage. That is really, doesn't look like LB. 1025 LB equals, get that better, LB equals, okay, times 1025. Remember, you could stop this video at any time or fast forward it or whatever you want to do. To times 42 divided by 3 times 2.5 divided by 36 times 1,025. Okay, it says round to the nearest pound. So this, without rounding, gave me 6,643 and 51, 85, 19. So nearest pound, the 5 would change the 3 to a 4. So I would 6,644 pounds. Remember, the word problems are the most practical ones, so you do not want to neglect understanding those. I just draw that picture in your head, know your information deeply, and then be able to solve the problem. Okay, find the total surface area again and the volume of the following right prism round to the nearest tenth. So this prism is sitting on its side again, it has the bases as trapezoids because the two bases are different. And then the height would be the difference between the two bases. The height of this trapezoid is the perpendicular line, the difference between these two bases of the trapezoid. So from here to here, it's 44. So now we're set to do our math. Okay, first I want to find the lateral surface area of a prism. So I find the perimeter around, rim around, and this is 27. So I add these four numbers up, and then how tall this prism is, even though it's lying on its side. So I take 23 plus 45 plus 27 plus 44, and then times how tall it is. It is 43 inches tall from the bottom to the top of this side-laying prism. So we do that math. Okay. And so the lateral surface area is 5,977. And now we're going to find the area of this trapezoid times 2. So 2a, I'm going to have to take 2 times 23 plus 27 divided by 2. Those are the bases, and how tall it is 44. So 2's cancel, so it's just 23 plus 27 times 44. So that is 2,200. So now I add these two together. 5,977 plus 2,200. Okay. Oops. I added those wrong. 5,977 plus 2,200. So the total surface area is 8,177. So there's two of them with that total surface area, so we march on. I added these two to get that. Okay, L plus 2A. Now our volume is the area of the base, which we have here, times how tall our prism is. So area of this base is 23 plus 27 divided by 2 times 44. That's my area of my base. I like to do it a piece at a time. So that's 1,100. That's the area of my base. Volume is area of the base times how tall the prism is. So then my height is 43. And this is the volume. So we get 47,300. So this is the one. Okay. Can't see all that. Oh boy. I'm sorry. I did all that math and you couldn't see it. That was bad. I apologize. At least you could hear me. Okay, lateral surface area, perimeter times height. Add up the sides of the base times how tall it is between bases. And then my area of my base is the 23 plus 27 divided by 2 times 44, but there's two of those to consider when you're finding total area, surface area. So then I add my lateral and my two bases added up, get 8177. There's two of those. And to find volume, you just find the area of the base. You don't have to double it or anything. It's just average of the bases times how tall your trapezoid is, and then how tall is your prism. So there's two talls there, isn't there? All right, there we go. Now we're finding the lateral surface area and the volume of this one. And so it's just like number one, except for it has a different triangle. So we found that before. So lateral surface area is the perimeter and how tall the prism is. So perimeter, again, we're missing this. So we take 40 squared plus 50 squared is c squared. So that is 1600 plus 2500 is c squared. Add those up. 4100 is c squared. Then you want to take the square root of both sides to find c. It's going to be approximate. They say round to the nearest tenth. Looks like they rounded to the nearest whole number there. So my edge here, this hypotenuse of that right triangle is about 64. So that is C. It does have hundredths, but of the number next to it, I'll just leave it as 64. So if I add these three, that's the perimeter. 40 plus 50 plus 64 times how tall it is, 110. So the lateral surface area is 16,943. I just left that decimal in there. So that's where this 3.4366 here came from. So this was approximate. I left this in as a decimal, so there's my lateral surface area. It looks like they're rounding to the nearest tenths. Yep. So 16,940. Otherwise, the volume is 40 times 50 divided by 2, because it's a triangle. Base times height. I know those make up the base and the height because it's a form of a right triangle. Oops, gotta see this mess. Okay. And then how tall it is, 110. So that is our volume is 110,000. So watch out for your decimal places. Don't let them fool you. Okay, we're back to total surface area and volume of the following right prism. So this is a hexagon. So we get a go from our book to find, we're going to have to find the perimeter of a hexagon and the area of a hexagon. So the perimeter is just 6 times one of the sides. That's what we'll use for the lateral surface area. And then the area of the base times 2, we can use the decimal and double it. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Whenever you see a hexagon, have your geometry paper back out, because most people do not have that memorized. I have the perimeter memorized, but not necessarily the area of the base there. You'll need both of those for the total surface area. Am I still in the screen? Yep. It's the lateral surface area plus 2 times the area of the bases. So lateral surface area is perimeter times how tall the prism is. So the perimeter would be 1/2 times 6. So we're going to do 1/2 times 6, because there's 6 sides, times how tall this is, 6 1/4. A little trick on your calculator there. And then your area of your hexagon, then you're taking 2 times 2.598 times A is 1/2 squared. So you can change those to decimals if you like. If you don't like fractions, you can do 0.5 times 6 times 6.25 plus 2 times 2.598 times 0.5 squared. Just a little twist if you do like decimals more than entering fractions into your calculator. But ignore that if you don't like to mess with changing fractions to decimals. That's why we did that first. Okay, I got for the total surface area 20 and 49 thousandths in my calculator, and it says round to the nearest tenth, so it's just 20. So it looks like A is my answer, but let's go ahead and figure out the volume because we can. We take the area of my base times how tall it is. So area of the base was that 2.598 times 1/2 squared. And then tallness is the 6 1/4. That's from the original picture, and you can change them to decimals, which I care to do. 0.5 squared times 6.25. Volume. So volume is, I got 4 and 59,375, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, hundred thousands, millions, millions. So rounding it to the nearest, looks like the rounding nearest whole number. There's your volume for your number 6. Okay, back to practical. If instead of just a picture with measures, we get into context. A regular tank has a 9,200 gallon capacity, and we have talked about it before in past lessons. It is found in on the back of your solid figures summary right here, that there are 7 4/800 gallons in 1 cubic foot. So since we're talking gallons here, just going to write that. 7 4/800 gallons equals 1 cubic foot. And since it's cubic, that implies the volume of a tank. We're going to have to find the volume of this tank in feet and then convert it to, the gallons convert to cubic feet, and then find out how it's the area of the base times the height gives us the formula we'll need to find the missing height. So if we can hold 9,200 gallons capacity, that means they gave us the gallons. We want to change it to cubic feet. We're going to have to divide by 7 4/800 to get cubic feet. So this is gallons, and this is gallons, so gallons cancel, and all you have left is cubic feet. Okay, so that's about 1,229 and 946,524. Don't want to round yet. That's in cubic feet. So the length times the width times the height gives you the cubic feet. So what's missing? The height. So length was 12 times width was 14 and 6 inches. So that's 14 and a half feet if you're with me on that. Otherwise you can just do 14 and 6/12, but 14.5 feet. And then we need to know what the height is. So that's your missing H. That's your missing part to this formula. So you can multiply 12 times 14.5 and divide it into that. You can do it a step at a time. Divide your cubic feet by 12 and divide it by 14.5. You can do that in your calculator. Since my calculator's already got that decimal in there, I'm just going to divide it by 12 and then divide it by another 14.5. Okay, there's my height, and it says round to the nearest hundred, so it wants 2 decimal places. So instead of 7 point, what those red dots are on there, it must be a glare, 7.068, we go 7.07 feet. Okay, that was fun. For sure, this big bad number to find how tall the tank is. You never know when you're faced with that kind of question. So now we're going 2 gallons. How many gallons? Because we know 7 and 48/100 gallons equals 1 cubic foot. Will a rectangular tank hold? If the base is a square, so we got ourselves a square base. So we got to find the area of that square base. So 8 feet 10 inches. 10 isn't as easy to change into decimal as 6. So it's 8 feet 10 inches out of 12 inches on one side. Then it's a square. So the area of the base is the side times the side. And then the height is 10 feet and 3 inches. Oh, why am I putting 12 as denominators? Because that's how many inches are in a foot. So I want everything in feet because that's what you're going to change to gallons. Okay, so if I take cubic feet, that's the one they give me. I'll have to multiply by my conversion factor and round to the nearest tenth. So it's approximation to get how many gallons this water tank will hold. So 8, oh man, okay, got to have a mixed number, 8 and 10 twelfths times mixed number 8 and 10 twelfths, okay, times the height 10, ooh, can I put it? Nope, get rid of that. Second mixed number 10 and 3/12. And then times my conversion factor, 7.48. Okay, so that's 5,982 and 4/10 gallons. There we go. Now, depending on your conversion factor, how accurate you have, this decimal will change. So I'll be, very generous with what you have. If you have a different decimal, I'm good with that. But you have to have 5,982 gallons for sure. Since we only used a 7.48, it's really 7.48052 rounded to the nearest 10,000. So it just depends on how close call you want. All right, choose one alternative that best completes the statement. Find the volume. So all we have to do is find the area of that hexagon. So it's this formula from our geometry sheet times how tall it is. So it's a pretty sweet calculation. Okay, so 2.5, if I could put in the right numbers, 2.598 times 5.4 squared, okay, times 7.3. So it's 553, and it rounds to just 553. Looks like that's the measure. $18.50 a gallon. What is the cost? So they want to know the cost to paint a building that's 61 feet high, 12 feet high, 61 feet long, and 32 feet wide. So that'll be easy to find the surface area of that guy. But there's 220 square feet of windows. So once we find the surface area of this building, you won't paint the roof, you won't paint the floors, so you just take the perimeter, you're finding the lateral surface area, perimeter times the height, and then we're going to take away 220 minus windows. So the perimeter is 12 feet. Okay, 12 feet high isn't part of the perimeter. That's the H. 61 plus 32, 2 61s plus 2 32s. I can write here. That is the perimeter. Calculate that. Okay. 186. I see what's doing. It's reflecting my mirror or my AverVision here. Okay, there's the perimeter, and then I'm going to take that times the height. Oops, hit a button there. Okay, and then we're going to take away that 220 worth of windows. So my P times my H is 2232, and then take away the windows, 220. I have 2012. Lateral surface area is 2012 square feet. That just tells you how much surface you have to paint. Well, 1 gallon covers 190 square feet, and that is, you know, different for all kinds of paints. So that's why they had to give us that conversion factor. I'm going to go ahead and cover this up so I can keep on calculating over here. So I'm going to take my 2012 square feet divided by 190 square feet for each gallon, and my answers will be gallons of paint. So that is, it says you cannot buy a fraction of a gallon of paint, so you have to round it up no matter what. So this is about 11 gallons of paint. Now I was helping somebody, we stopped there because I forgot what they were looking for. They were looking for the cost. So you just have to do one more step, and each gallon, pretty cheap, $18.50 a gallon. So I have to clear my calculator, do $18.50 times 11, and that's how much money I have to spend to paint my building. Okay, and that is number 10. So the student I helped got it free because I did not read the directions. Happens. Pickles. Alrighty. So a couple more. 4 more, 5 more. So, lateral surface area. So you got to see this is a prism on its side. So I just take the perimeter of the base times how tall it is. 5 plus 5. Perimeter is the sum of the sides, which we learned in the last chapter. And the tall is 27. And let's figure that out. Am I still in the picture? Yep. 405. Feet squared? Yep. Okay, there's only one with that, but let's go ahead and do the volume because we can. It's good practice. Okay, there's my solution, but how did they get that? The volume is the area of the base. So what's the area of a equilateral triangle? And how tall the prism is. So if you remember from last chapter, equilateral triangle had a special formula that made it easier to find the area. So I take the decimal 0.433 times the side squared. So the volume is the decimal 0.433 times the side squared, and the height is 27. So that's all multiplied. Okay. 5 squared is 25, so I'm taking a shortcut there, times 27 is, there we go, 2,092 and 3/10 feet cubed. So they wanted it to round to the nearest tenth. That's how they gave your answers this time. Yay. Okay, there we go. We got the solution from a lot of hard work. All right, we have bricks that weigh 105 pounds per cubic foot. So this is the how to find the weight conversion factor, but first we have to find the cubic feet. Then we'll multiply by 105. What will the weight of 352 bricks that are 8 inches, we can't use inches, we need feet, so I'll take 8/12 of a foot by 2 25/100 of a foot by 3 inches of a foot. So I take these 3 fractions, multiply them together. There are 352 of these babies, and each one of these would weigh 105 pounds per cubic feet. So it's all multiplied. Okay. 8/12 times 2.25 twelfths times 3/12 times 352 of them. Oh, you can't see my calculator. Sorry. Took my 3 fractions times 352 of them times 105 pounds per. Whoa, didn't like what I did. What I put in wrong. Can I go back? Okay. Oh, I had 2 times. I'm going to delete that one. There we go. Let's see if it's nice to us now. 1,155 pounds. So that's a half a ton or so, right? A little over half a ton. 1,155 pounds. Why would you have to calculate that? Well, you got to have a rig big enough to be able to haul that much. That's for sure. Okay, the cement footings for piers for a raised foundation are blocks measuring 15 inches by 15 inches by 15 inches. How many cubic yards of concrete are needed for 35 footings? So you've got to find cubic yards, not cubic inches. So quick way to change inches to yards is there are 36 inches in a yard. And then there's 35 of them. So a fast way to multiply three numbers together, that's just cubing them. So I can put in the fraction 1536 and then take it to the, I use the caret button, third power. Okay, there's my cubic yards, but there's 35 of them. I'm going to take it times 35. Okay, so does it say to round anything? Round to the nearest hundredth, it says. So it's 2 53/100 cubic yards. Okay. Two more. Then with number 13. Find the lateral surface area. That's the perimeter of the base times the height and the volume of the right prism. So that's the area of the base times the height. Lateral surface area, just got to figure out all four sides. It looks like this guy is kind of on one of its edges. Oh, pickles, you can't see anything. There we go. Caught myself before I got started here. I need to move my little black screen to capture so I know where the top of the camera is. I don't keep making that mistake. Okay, there we go. Perimeter. This is the base because those two are the same measurements. This one in front you can see and the one you can't see in back because all the other sides are not the same. So that's how you know what the base of a prism is. They have the same dimensions. So I add up 1 plus 13 plus 12 plus 5. And how tall? That's the distance between the base and the base. And that is 18. And it looks like it's all feet. So 1 plus 13 plus 12 plus 5 is 31 times 18 is 558. So I did my perimeter and then I multiplied my height of my prism. So the lateral surface area is 558 feet squared. That's not counting the bases. That's what lateral means. Looks like there's two of them with 558. So you must go on to find the area of the base, which is 1/2. So that's half of the two bases added up, 1 plus 12, times how tall your trapezoid is, 5. That's the area of the base. And then you're going to take that times how tall your prism is, 18. So 13/2 times 5 is an interesting number. Okay. 13 divided by 2 times 5, 32.5 times 18. Okay, 585 feet cubed. So this is the one. What did my other one say? 575. So a little tricky. All right, last one. We have a cube. We only have to find the volume of a cube. That is length times width times height. I don't know if you've ever calculated 8 cubed. And that is 512. 8 times 8 times 8. There we go. We are done with 9.1.